probably not stuff that you want. So those are the objectives for today's lesson. There's like 26 slides, so I want to get on with it, but it's stuff that you should be a little bit familiar with because it's about the service desk, and you have heard about the service desk before. There's some new stuff in there a little bit. The service catalog, I don't think that was covered in CR3160, so that's kind of new. Service level agreement, there was a chapter on that in 1260. So yeah, it's new and old. All right, so first off, here's a bunch of terms that you need to sort of know. And yeah, they're terms that sort of relate to working in a service desk. And so I'm not going to sort of read them all because you can sort of look at them, but just to sort of highlight, if you abandon a call, that means that somebody called and the phone rang and they hung up before anybody answered. So something similar to that, well, your average call duration, we want that number to be small, because what that's about is it's about how long does it take the service person, service agent, to solve the incidents on average. The average speed of answer, well, how long does it take the service agent until they pick up the phone once the phone has been directed to them? The average wait time is how long does the customer have to wait in the queue? Okay, so you can go back and look at all of those things again. Now, these terms here, they're straight out of sort of Jack Welch business stuff. You could be doing a course in business administration in one of the other buildings, and you'd know about these words. They use them. So baseline benchmarking, the idea there is to have a look and analyze your business, find the weaknesses in your business, strengths in your business. Does that sound familiar? SWOT analysis, that kind of stuff. The benchmarking requires you that you survey a lot of other businesses and see how they do things. So you look at the way you do things, you look at the way they do things, and you sort of see your weaknesses. You identify best practices within the industry, and hopefully you shoot for your developing the best practices on your own. There are companies that make a very lot of money doing this kind of stuff. You may have heard of some like McKinsey's, Anderson's Consulting. They had a bit of a problem, so who's the other ones? Deloitte's. I should have remember that one because my niece works for them. But these companies, they do auditing sometimes, so there's a lot of financial stuff. But they also just look at companies and look at management and analyze how are they going with their strategies and that type of thing. They make a lot of money doing that, and so they will typically come into a company, they'll look at the way that they're doing their business. So they'll bring in some experts that they have hired. These are people that are their employees, but they'll have the person that spent the last 5 years just going and looking at telephone companies. You know what I mean? So they went and they did consulting at this company, and then that company, then that company. And without sort of sharing secrets of one company to another, what they're able to do is they're able to say, oh, well, these are the things that make telephone companies work good. These are the things that make telephone companies not work so good. We see that you got some of these things and some you don't have some of those things. And so people pay a lot of money for that kind of advice. I'm sure you're familiar with the bring your own device thing. The idea there being that the telephones that we have in our pockets are so powerful now, they can do a lot of things that we would be forced to use a personal computer or even a mainframe before. So we've got all that power in our pockets. Why don't we use it in our business situation? We'll get our employees to bring their phones, and we'll put our apps on the phones, and they can do their work on their phones. And certainly with the service desk, that's possible. And also our customers will have an app on their phones, which they can use to submit their problems, not problems, to submit their the issues that they're having, their outages, and that way, so they can go straight into a ticketing. Yeah, those things make it sort of more modern, more of all of these things, efficient and effective. All right, so these words kind of sound similar. You kind of need to know them. Effectiveness and efficiency, especially if you're in a business situation. Effectiveness means just can you get it done. Efficiency means can you get it done with using the least amount of money and the least amount of time for the biggest benefit. And so, yeah, escalation, to go up, right, to go up. And so what are we going up from? We're going up from our levels of in the service management, in the service desk. So the service desk has three levels: service level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 is the service desk agent, and the idea is that they are so well trained and so good in their IT as well as dealing with people that they can handle most of the issues that come to them and solve them themselves. But there are some that they can't, in which case that gets escalated to what we call level 2. And level 2 would be sort of engineer types, and they would work on the solution. If they can't do it, then it gets escalated to level 3, and that's as high as it goes. Level 3 would sort of involve the resources of the company at the higher management level, and would include maybe going out of the company to the vendors, like, for example, for Microsoft support or something. So incident, this is the big word that we use. So we have incident management that we're talking about there. So an incident is when something, we have an interruption that we didn't plan, or we have a drop in quality. That's an incident. And so we have an incident management system. And in the last lesson, we talked about that in ITSM, ITIL. One of the things that we're doing there is we have incident management system, well, yes. Let me just leave it at that. So incident management system is going to include a ticketing. So a ticket with a unique number, a ticket number, will be attached to every incident as it comes into the system, and that ticket number will only ever be used for that particular incident. Never ever in the history of that company will that ticket number be used again. And so the idea is that that ticket remains in a database, and so that we can check up on it and make sure that it has been completely resolved. Now, somebody needs to take ownership of that. We say there's ownership. Every ticket has an owner, and you'll see that when we start looking at the ticket system. Maybe you'll remember OTRS. We did it in CR1260, and we're going to do it again. But we do assign an owner to a ticket, and every ticket, you can change the owner, and that happens because it has to go to level 2, and so we'll change the owner from a level 1 systems agent or to a level 2 agent. And the incident record that they're talking about there, we would call a ticket. All right, so a problem is a different thing. Remember, a problem is a different thing. Problem is the underlying cause. And so that's why we talk about root cause analysis, is we want to identify what is the actual cause, why are we having this issue. I'm putting this on here so that maybe it'll get a little less feedback there. Yeah. In this lesson, this might be new, the idea of a service catalog, and we'll talk about that in the service catalog and how that feeds into the idea of a service level agreement. And so a service, something that we're offering to our students, not to our students, to our customers as a something of value. Now, in ITIL, we also sort of refer to as a service package, service package. And so a service package is going to be the service that we offer them at what particular level and at what price. You would be familiar with the service package if you'd ever gone to Arito to set up an account, because they'll give you a choice of 3 or 4 different kind of services that they can offer you with 3 or 4 different prices and 3 or 4 different things that come with it. And so that would be a service package. And so each of those things is service. Service could be like, all right, I'm going to have TV with these channels. I'm going to have, this many megabits per second of data, and I'm, etc. Okay, so the service desk, we're using this term. You'll also see the terms called help desk and call center used today, but service desk is an ITIL term, and you'll see that service desk is kind of like a help desk, but a little bit broader in its scope. So it's a first point of contact for our customers, and the idea of the service desk is this: give customer satisfaction. So there's 3 sort of similar ideas: call centers, help desks, and service desks. A call center, I'm sure you're familiar with. You probably if you ever picked up the phone, you may have done something like talk to somebody in a call center. And you may have had a call come into you from somebody in a call center. So there's two different kinds of call centers mentioned here: inbound and outbound call center. An inbound call center is taking calls from customers with their incidents, and an outbound call center is making calls to customers, probably marketing things from the company. And a blended call center is going to be doing both. And so some of the ones that you might have come in contact with would be airline reservations, Arito call center, you might have used that, the banks, home shopping, etc. Software, maybe you have some issues with some software that you purchased, you call them up, and there would be somebody in a service desk that would be helping you with that, and maybe in a call center. Call center, because it's not small, that's limited to a small number of customers. If we had enough customers that we have a high volume, so call centers are really for high volumes of calls to and from customers. And they're of such high volume that we look at some way of making that cheaper, the actual time. And so call centers are often remotely located in places where people will accept lower salaries. For example, a call center staff might receive a salary of $32,000. That's the average apparently in 2019. So probably many of you, maybe most of you or all of you, have plans to make a lot more money than that. So that means you wouldn't go and work in a call center in one of those places. Certainly you couldn't have a call center in somewhere like Silicon Valley in the United States and pay people that money. So it is the idea of a call center. We know we can put it anywhere, and we can find people who will do that. And so we'll put it in a place outside Silicon Valley where we can pay people less. Okay, so what is the difference between a help desk and a service desk? I hope you can see a lot of overlap there. They're both single point of contact, but the help desk is narrower and only handles incidents, whereas the service desk handles incidents and service requests and does a lot of communicating with the customers. So your service desk idea is a broader scope. It's so service requests are things where we're adding new stuff, not just maybe we could install new softwares and new systems even, or do some designing and building, whereas the help desk is really just managing incidents. Okay, so they both have this concept of the multi-level support, which I've already made mention of or alluded to, which is the levels, level 1, level 2, level 3. We try to solve as many of the issues that come up at level 1 as possible. And to do that, you need to have highly skilled people at the service desk. But there's going to be some issues that can't be solved at that level, and so they will be escalated to level 2, where we have subject matter experts, engineers that focus on particular types of problems. Now, in this slide, it actually refers to a bunch of, one more level, which is level 0. And we talked about that last lesson too, I think, when we mentioned that we have peer-to-peer support where the customers are actually doing their own support. And there's some issues with that. Problem is that that's going to be unplanned, or with the word we use is ad hoc. And so that's going to end up with systems with all kinds of tweaks on them, and they become somewhat unmanageable. So from a point of view of the service desk, we don't really like people doing their own sort of fixing things. You might say, oh yeah, I'd like that idea because then I don't have to do it. Well, really, you're just going to end up having to do a lot more later when the system sort of, when problems start arising and we don't know, the actual state of the system, because the system has changed so much by the tweaking that the users have done to it. So level 2 and level 3 are mentioned there. I've already gone through them a little bit. Level 2, you're going to have your subject matter experts or engineer types. Level 3 is going to bring a bit more resources to bear. I mean, we've gone up. We're taking into account sort of management prerogative there with a bit more money, and we're also using people outside of the organization. Okay, so mission statement. The idea here, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but the idea here is what we're talking about is we got some kind of far off goal that the whole organization is about. Now, just because we sort of have business and business has money, that's not what organizations are only about, right? We're not just about making money. Somebody has some passion, you want to call it that, or they're excited about something that they start a business to do that. So somebody's interested in education, so they start a college. It's not, it's not just so that we can charge students a little bit of money every semester. It's not like that. Somebody's interested in financial services, so they start a financial services company. Somebody's interested in providing health care, so they they have a healthcare company, and so that sort of passion that's behind that, that's going to show up in the mission statement. This is what the whole organization is trying to achieve. Now, the mission statement is then going to be used for our strategic planning. So strategic planning for 3 years, 2 years, that type of thing, 5 years into the future. So the organization as a whole will make a strategic plan, and then the IT service management, IT service department, they will have to make their own strategic plan which supports the mission of the organization. Now, this is all just business, how you say, business administration, business strategy, business planning. If you're doing a diploma over in Building 12 instead of here in Building 10, you'd have already heard about all this stuff a lot and do it quite a bit. That's the type of stuff that they live with. Now, so what we just got here is we've got an example of a mission statement that is supporting the mission statement of a university. So the university has a mission statement, and that university mission statement has something to do with staff and students and stuff like that. And so the IT department has a mission statement which sort of which supports the mission statement of the university. So to provide professional customer focus, single point of contact, excellent service, continue to develop our service, exceed customer expectations, contribute to the success of the overall mission of the organization. So the service desk mission is going to, I've already sort of addressed that, I think, is going to support the organization's overall mission. And the overall mission of the organization has to address a lot of things. It has to address that passion. What is it about this company that we're excited about, why we wanted to get into business? Then it has to address all the stakeholders. All right, so we have the people who are the owners of the business. We have to bring money in and be efficient, otherwise the business can't stay going. We have employees, we have customers, and there's some financial things to do with them, but also in other things that we need to sort of do for those people. Two different types of service desks, the internal and the external. And I think we talked about this in CR3160 as well. Internal service desk, we have one in this building, in Building 10 here, down the other end of the hall there. And that's those guys there, they do IT service for the college only. All of their customers are internal customers. We're not going there and paying them money. They have a contract with us, which is a service level agreement rather than a contract, but that's an internal service desk. External service desk would be something like a Rito, what you call them up, and they're dealing directly with retail customers who have, well, as it says here, there's two different things that they do with their retail customers. They work in pre-sales support, so they try and offer new products and services that they think that those customers might want. So sometimes they'll call those customers, or sometimes at the end of a situation where you've called a Rito and you've done some, and they've been trying to fix some issue with you, then they'll try and market some product to you. So yeah, that would be their pre-sales support. Their post-sales support is just trying to keep whatever service that they're giving you at the highest level. So that's the ones where they're fixing your internet when it's broken and that kind of stuff. Oh, hooray, we're just about done. My gosh, just about, but not quite. So this idea of a service catalog, I mentioned Rito, and I think Rito is a good example of this because can you imagine, you need to have some kind of communication service. Then you go to Arito and you find out that they've got lots of different services that they can offer. And they might even have a catalog like this. And the catalog will say, well, you can have this service and it's standard. Everybody gets this service, right? So we're talking about service in a service desk. So on the service desk, everybody gets this service. They had standard support hours, they have some incident logging, they have some entitlement verification, everything standard here, everybody gets. But the optional stuff, you can have this stuff too, but you got to pay a little bit extra, right? And so you're going to have a bit more for those things. So these things will be in a catalog, and then you can pick and choose. You can have just the standard, or you can add on some options. If you add on some options, you got to add on some price. And I gave the example of burrito. I think it's a really good example because that's exactly what you're going to get down there. You can have all kinds of packages down there, with the amount of broadband that you have, data when you're out in the desert, all kinds of stuff, right? But those aren't free, right? And they're not the same as your basic package. Your basic package is X dirhams, reals, and your, these other advanced packages are, with all the options, are a lot more reals. And so here's some terms that go along with that service catalog. I'm not going to go through all of those individually, but you can sort of have a look at them. So the service catalog, you need to name each service, you need to describe it. It has to have a category, which is also going to reflect the kind of customers that are using it. What are some of the features that it has? Standard features versus optional features. So we saw that back there, right? The standard features, there's some things that everybody gets, and there's some things that only people that take the options get. Now, why have we got a service level agreement right after that? Well, it's because this kind of catalog idea can be used to inform what we're going to put into the service level agreement. So the service level agreement is going to be like, these are the services that we have agreed to. We kind of negotiated it, right? We took all the standard services at the standard charges. We took some of these optional ones at the optional charges, and we agreed that we would pay this much for the year for all of these services. In the service level agreement, it's then going to say that, okay, so we got all these things. This is the level of service that you're going to get for your money in terms of how long will we have to wait for incidents to be resolved and that type of thing on average, etc. I hope that these two words are not too strange for you, insourcing and outsourcing. I'm sure that they make a bit of sense. So you could hire people to do all of your work at the service desk. That would be fine, and you could have them as your employees, and that's what we've got down there in the bottom of building 10 here. And that makes sense because we got a particularly unique sort of IT environment here. It's going to be different than most businesses around. So yeah, why not? We're going to have our own systems people, and they will work within this environment. They're the best people to do that. On the other hand, you could go out, and you could take some or all of that work out to other providers who maybe especially if you've got a small business, maybe they have lots of customers that are small businesses that are doing the same thing, and they can provide IT support for you, and you don't have to hire anybody. And especially if you're in a development phase, right? If you're developing new software or installing new software and hardware, it may make sense to outsource a bit instead of hiring somebody to come in, hiring them and putting them on your payroll and keeping them, for 20 years or whatever. Why not just get a contractor, to come in and do the build and then leave after? That would be outsourcing. And that brings us to a wrap on that topic. So we still got 10 minutes left, but I'm kind of glad that we were able to achieve that in sort of the 30 minutes. That's kind of good. All right. So do you have any questions, students? So looking for the chat. No. And what I'm going to do is, let's see, we got 19 students here now. Maybe I can get all of them. I don't know. Maybe I have to. So from Farhan to Doha, maybe I need to Oh, well, let's just take an image of that. Can anybody see that they're not on there? What I'm going to do is stop sharing. Maybe if I stop share, maybe so. No, let's close that. And yeah, what it would be good if I can. No, 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 that's not gonna work. No, I don't want to share the screen. I want to see the people who are here. Here we go. Come on, participants. Why is it? It's kind of weird. You're across the top, but I can't actually see you. And I'm recording, so I'm going to stop recording too.